Wealth, power, and influence, J.P. Morgan had it all. He owned the first billion-dollar company. He dominated the country's most profitable industries, and on multiple occasions, the economy of the United States literally depended upon the actions of J.P. Morgan. This is his story. John Pierpont Morgan was born in 1837 into privilege, but his early life was marked by constant illness. Seizures plagued his childhood. Doctors couldn't explain what was wrong. His worried parents sent him to boarding schools hoping different environments might help his health. At 14, Morgan was shipped off to Switzerland for treatment. The thin mountain air was supposed to cure his mysterious ailments. Instead of getting better, he developed a skin condition that would scar his nose for life. Kids mocked his appearance. Teachers worried about his frequent absences, but Morgan's sickness taught him something valuable: patience and calculation. While other boys played games, he studied numbers. While they ran around, he watched and learned. His father, Junius, was already a successful banker in London. Morgan absorbed everything about finance from their dinner conversations. The family moved back to America when Morgan was 20. His father got him a job at a small banking firm in New York. Morgan was still sickly, still self-conscious about his appearance, but he had developed an incredible talent for seeing profitable opportunities others missed. His first big score came during the Civil War. Morgan noticed the government was desperately buying rifles. He found a supplier with 5,000 outdated carbines, bought them for $3.50 each, sold them back to the army for $22 each, pure profit of over $90,000, equivalent to $3 million today. Critics called it war profiteering. Morgan called it business. He was 24 years old and had learned his first lesson about American capitalism. Crisis creates opportunity. This philosophy would guide his entire career and make him the most powerful financier in history. After the Civil War, America was expanding west. The key to this expansion was railroads, and J.P. Morgan saw the biggest opportunity of his lifetime. Railroad companies were popping up everywhere. Most were poorly managed, constantly fighting each other, cutting prices to destruction. Morgan realized that competition was killing profits. The solution was consolidation and control. In 1879, Morgan orchestrated his first major railroad deal. He took control of the New York Central Railroad through a complex financial restructuring. Instead of competing with rival lines, Morgan proposed something radical: cooperation. He invited all the major railroad owners to his private yacht, the Corsair. For 3 days they sailed up and down the Hudson River while Morgan laid out his vision. Stop the destructive competition, divide up territories, fix prices, work together to maximize profits. The railroad bosses agreed. They formed what became known as Morgan's Railroad Community. Any railroad that wanted to expand or raise capital had to go through J.P. Morgan. He became the unofficial czar of American transportation. Morgan's method was brilliant. He didn't just lend money. He took control. When railroads needed financing, Morgan demanded seats on their boards. He installed his own management teams. He standardized their operations and eliminated waste. By 1890, Morgan controlled over 100,000 miles of railroad track. That was 1/6 of all railroads in America. His network connected every major city. He set the rates. He determined which towns got service. He literally controlled how America moved. The profits were staggering. Morgan's banking firm earned millions in fees. His personal wealth grew exponentially, but more importantly, he had learned how to control entire industries through strategic financing and consolidation. In 1901, J.P. Morgan pulled off the deal of the century. He created the world's first billion-dollar corporation by buying out Andrew Carnegie and forming United States Steel. Carnegie was the undisputed king of steel, and his company absolutely dominated American steel production. But, Carnegie was getting old and wanted to retire. The problem was his asking price, $480 million, which is about $18 billion today. Most people thought Carnegie was just crazy. No company was worth that much money. But Morgan, well, he saw the bigger picture. Steel was the foundation of America's industrial growth. Railroads, buildings, bridges, machinery, everything needed steel. Morgan arranged a secret meeting with Carnegie. They met at Carnegie's mansion in New York. The negotiation was brief. Carnegie wrote his price on a piece of paper. Morgan looked at it and simply said, "I accept." No haggling, no discussion, just pure business. But Morgan wasn't done. He immediately began buying up every other major steel company in America. Federal Steel Company, American Bridge Company, National Tube Company. One by one, Morgan absorbed them all. Within months, Morgan had created U.S. Steel Corporation. The company controlled 65% of American steel production. It employed 168,000 workers. It owned iron ore mines, coal mines, railroads, and steel mills. It was a complete vertical monopoly. The stock market went wild. U.S. Steel's initial public offering was oversubscribed by 300%. Morgan's banking firm earned $62.5 million in fees, over $2 billion in today's money. But the real prize was control over America's industrial backbone. U.S. Steel's creation marked a turning point. Morgan had proven that any industry could be consolidated and controlled through strategic finance. He wasn't just a banker anymore, he was an industrial emperor. J.P. Morgan's true power became clear during America's financial crises. 3 times the entire American economy nearly collapsed. 3 times, Morgan single-handedly saved it. The first crisis hit in 1893. A stock market crash triggered bank runs across the country. People rushed to withdraw their savings and banks just couldn't meet the demand. The federal government had no central bank, no mechanism to stop the panic. President Grover Cleveland called Morgan to Washington. The government was running out of gold, the foundation of America's currency. Without gold, the dollar would collapse. International trade would stop, the economy would implode. Morgan proposed a radical solution. He would personally guarantee the government's gold supply. His syndicate of banks would provide $65 million in gold in exchange for government bonds. The deal was controversial, but it worked. The panic stopped overnight. The second crisis came in 1907. This time it was even worse. The stock market crashed 50%. Banks failed every day. Even Morgan's own bank was under pressure. But Morgan was ready. He locked himself in his private library with the heads of every major bank in New York. For 3 days straight, they negotiated rescue packages. Morgan decided which banks would survive and which would fail. He allocated money like a central banker. On the final night, Morgan refused to let anyone leave until they signed agreements to pool their resources. Trust company presidents even tried to sneak out. Morgan blocked the doors. No one was leaving until the crisis was solved. The plan worked perfectly. Markets stabilized. Banks reopened. The economy recovered. But everyone realized something terrifying. One man had more financial power than the entire federal government. These crises established Morgan as America's unofficial central banker. Politicians might make laws, but Morgan controlled the money. When the economy was in trouble, they called Morgan, not the president. J.P. Morgan died in 1913, but his influence shaped America for decades. His greatest legacy wasn't just his wealth, it was proving that private financial power could control entire nations. Morgan's net worth at death was $80 million, which is about $2.4 billion today. But his real wealth was his control over other people's money. He controlled banks, railroads, steel companies, and utilities worth billions. His decisions affected millions of workers and thousands of businesses. The Morgan banking empire continued long after his death. J.P. Morgan and Company became one of the most powerful financial institutions in the world. Today, it's J.P. Morgan Chase, one of America's largest banks. The Morgan name still carries weight on Wall Street, but Morgan's methods also created lasting problems. His monopolistic practices sparked the antitrust movement. His concentration of power led to calls for banking reform. In 1913, the same year Morgan died, Congress created the Federal Reserve to break private banking control over the economy. Morgan's approach to business became the template for modern corporate America. Consolidation over competition, control over chaos, strategic finance over pure innovation. Every major merger and acquisition today follows Morgan's playbook. His personal style influenced American business culture. Morgan was formal, intimidating, and absolutely confident in his decisions. He never explained his reasoning. He made offers once and never negotiated. This became the stereotype of powerful American executives. The most important lesson from Morgan's life is about the relationship between money and power. Morgan proved that controlling capital meant controlling everything else. Politics, industry, even national policy, everything bent to financial pressure. J.P. Morgan started as a sickly child who just couldn't keep up with his classmates. He died as the most powerful private citizen in American history. His secret wasn't brilliance or innovation. It was understanding that in capitalism, he who controls the money controls everything. Morgan's America was a place where one man's decisions could save or destroy the entire economy. His deals created industries, his word moved markets, his approval determined which businesses succeeded and which failed. Today's tech billionaires and Wall Street titans are often compared to the robber barons of Morgan's era, but none of them wield the concentrated power that Morgan held. He didn't just own companies, he owned the system itself. That's the real story of J.P. Morgan. Not just how he made money, but how he used that money to reshape America according to his vision. He proved that private wealth, strategically deployed, could be more powerful than any government. And that lesson still echoes through American business today.